Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And we see them in today. We got a hell of a show in store for you guys. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Man, it's been a pretty interesting week. As you guys know, we took off this week, so we didn't really produce any content this week, but we stayed engaged with you guys through the comment section and the community section and all of that. But there were some interesting things that took place. As you guys know, the major one is the comments, the wrong-headed comments that Anthony Edwards had to make recently. For those of you guys who aren't aware, Anthony Edwards basically went out there and put his foot in his mouth. He put out some pretty ignorant comments about players from the past, basically saying that those guys didn't have skill. The only player that has skill was Michael Jordan. I want to read his comments. I'm going to put it up for you guys here. It says, they say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody had skill back then. Jordan was the only one that really had skill. So that's why when they saw Kobe, they're like, oh my God. But now everybody has skill. Since then, Magic Johnson has come out and responded to him. I want to show you what he said. He said, this was him speaking to Stephen A. Smith. He said, I never respond to a guy that's never won a championship. He didn't win a college championship. I don't even know if he won a high school championship. That's what Magic Johnson had to say, right? But Magic wasn't the only one that had some things to say about this. Another person that was outspoken was Rob Parker, right? Rob Parker from Fox Sports Radio. As you guys know, he also has the show with Chris Broussard, the Odd Couple. So he was on there, and he was reacting to the things that Anthony Edwards had to say. And I think it's important that I mentioned that before Anthony Edwards even went on to make his comments, he said, I didn't see it, so I can't speak on it. And then decided that, you know what, the best thing for me to do, given the fact that I don't know anything that I'm talking about, I have no knowledge of this particular subject matter. The best thing for me to do is to then go ahead and talk about it, even though I don't even know what I'm talking about. Right. So Rob Parker and these guys got a hold of what Anthony Edwards had to say, and man, not only did they go off on him, but they went off on this trend, this new trend that is kind of slowly starting to build up, which is this trend of people now trying to tarnish Michael Jordan and the era from which he came from. So what we want to do now is want to play exactly what Rob Parker had to say on Anthony Edwards' comments and people taking shots at errors from the past, and then we're going to come back and really get into the meat and potatoes of what he had to say. Take a listen to that there.
There are people out here who think everything that happened yesterday is better than anything that's ever happened. Mm-hmm. And I think I feel so bad that and it happens a lot in the NBA. In order to try to make people feel better about the players, they have to downgrade or ridicule the past.
Sure.
JJ Redick did it. They're all plumbers and butchers. Everybody had a second job, JJ, back then, because they didn't make a lot of money, okay? So in the offseason, I remember Richie Hebner was a third baseman for the Mets. He was a grave digger in the offseason. That's how he made extra money. People didn't make that kind of money, so they had other jobs when they weren't playing pro sports. But the notion, the idea that these guys didn't have skills is just outrageous. It's ludicrous. And this is why, which is surprising to me, when I hear people say this. Well, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Mm-hmm. So wait a minute, Aaron. We didn't see Babe Ruth play, but
he sucked.
But right, he sucked. Oh yeah, look at that fat guy. He looked like he was eating a hot dog when he was rounding first base. Right? We don't discount what he was able to accomplish during that time. We weren't around when Martin Luther King, or a lot of people weren't, when Martin Luther King was around. Does that mean he wasn't a great man because we weren't here? Come
His
on, man.
Speeches stunk. Would have never held up in 2024.
Exactly.
I have a dream. Boring. Get him off my TV. Yeah.
100%. I mean, what is this?
So, couple thoughts. So, first of all, your prisoner of the moment thing, this is a theory that I have had for a while, and we see it, by the way, with all these law, and I'm not trying to be political here. I know it's political season, but all these laws, all these things. And it's like, yeah, we tried this thing 30 years ago. It didn't work. And we've come full circle on it, right? Like, Rob, I'll give you an example. You know New York City well, right? couple months ago they had the National Guard in the subways because the subways were out of control. Well, guess what? That happened in the 1980s, and they figured out how to clean it up back then. But now everyone's like, no, you got to – the point I'm trying to make, everything is cyclical, but yes. But basketball, for some reason, I agree with you, is it feels like there is this need to denigrate the previous eras.
Yes.
And a couple things stand out. One, first of all, I just think it's dumb to compare eras, period, because I was telling Rob G this before the show, is like, yeah, Patrick Ewing was a back-to-the-basket center, okay? Guess what? If Patrick Ewing was born in 2001 instead of 1961, he would have been shooting threes growing up. And so that would have been part.
Michael Jordan would have been shooting threes if that's what the game was.
You know what I was even thinking about today? Remember, LeBron wasn't a good three-point shooter when he came into the league because three-point shooting wasn't as important. And so it's dumb to compare eras. But it's also, by the way, can I say this? It's dumb to say that MJ was the only one with skill. Reggie Miller, not sure if you heard of him. Larry Bird, not sure if you heard of him. Ray Allen, by the way, was drafted in 95. So 95 by definition means you played in the 90s. Second best three-point shooter of all time. Larry Bird, you probably heard of him. By the way, Magic Johnson couldn't shoot. Doesn't mean he wasn't skilled. It's like, it's so stupid, but then it goes back to what you said, Rob. By the way, when you open a conversation by saying, yeah, I didn't really see it, so I shouldn't speak on it.
And then you speak on it.
And then you speak on it. Just don't say anything.
So you heard what Rob Parker had to say. What are my thoughts on this? I'm going to give you guys my honest opinion about why I think this is happening, right? And the genesis of all of this. I think there are two things. I think the first thing that has sparked this kind of disrespect and people out there trying to tarnish Michael Jordan is the fact that a lot of NBA fans hold eras from the past in higher regard than they do this present era. Because this era, they don't really play defense. Players don't really seem to care about the fans. The load management is a problem. If you look at the All-Star game, now that's an embarrassment. You have slam dunk contests, which superstars refuse to compete in. And I think a lot of these guys believe that they're above it all. They're too cool for school. And a lot of NBA fans are being turned off. So it's making them hold eras from the past in higher regard than they do this current era. That's the first thing. The second thing I believe is this. We've been saying that Michael Jordan is the GOAT for decades. For decades. And what has started to happen is people are starting to get tired of that. They're starting to get tired of hearing that this guy's better than everybody. No matter who it is that's new. You can bring Stephen Curry, you can bring Kevin Durant, you can bring this guy, you can bring LeBron James, whoever it is. The overwhelming pushback is, yeah, they're good, but they're not Michael Jordan. And people started to get irritated with that. Even some former players. And then what started to happen was these people now started to say, you know what, man, we need to figure out a way to knock Jordan off of his perch. We need to figure out a way to disqualify him or make him seem not as great as he is in the eyes of many. So the first thing they tried to do was attack Jordan himself. And that didn't really work, right? Because if you try to say Jordan isn't a great player, you look like someone that shouldn't even be talking sports. Forget about basketball, right? So that didn't work. And then they realized, okay, you know what? We can't attack Jordan, but what we can maybe do is attack his era, right? And what we can start to do is now try to poke holes in his era and say, look, you see, well, he wasn't really that good. Or the competition he was playing against wasn't really that good. And then they tried to do it that way. Then you started seeing movements like we're done with the 90s and all of these different things, right? And this is where it started. And it's trying to create an environment in which it is okay to not only disrespect Jordan, but also disrespect his era. And all of this is being done in an effort to elevate the modern day NBA. At first, it was some NBA fans doing it. But then we started seeing some prominent voices that talk basketball that are former players that then started to put their foot in the water and start saying things like this. And then all of a sudden, it started to gain some traction. And that's what brought us to the place where we are, where you can have a modern day NBA player who I believe is an all-star in Anthony Edwards, now basically come out and try to disrespect an entire era. But here's the problem. The problem is the following. The vast majority of NBA fans are not going for it. That's the problem. Anthony Edwards has received more pushback than praise. So it's not working. It's not working. And then there's also an element within all of this that there's LeBron fans that want to make this era seem greater than the era Jordan competed in, to say that, oh, you see, LeBron is playing in the greatest era ever. So even if he can't win as much as Michael Jordan, the fact that he's competing and putting up numbers in this era, you see, it means that, in fact, he's greater than Michael Jordan. Please don't get it twisted. There's an element of that as well. So you have all of these things that are working together to try to tarnish Jordan's legacy and his era, but it's not working. The fact of the matter is this. More NBA fans cared about basketball when Jordan was playing than they do now. Look at the ratings. Look at the ratings. More people were watching basketball when Michael Jordan was playing than they do today. As a matter of fact, Jordan's era, the 90s, is the golden era of the NBA. It is the golden era of the NBA, the 90s. Even if you look at finals viewerships, if you think of the great clash that we had in the finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Cavaliers, do you know that some of those games weren't even amounting to some of the games that Jordan was playing in the NBA Finals in 1998? Are you guys aware of that? Are you aware that the most viewed NBA Finals game to date is the 1998 Game 6 NBA Finals that Michael Jordan played? It is the single most viewed game in the history of basketball. So people were tuning in more than they are now. If you look at some of the all-star ratings, they are hitting record lows. Last year, they said it was up from a low, and it's still a low. So fans don't seem to care the way that they used to. Another thing that I believe is turning off some NBA fans is the fact that this era, they don't play defense. And when you don't play defense, it means that there's no real resistance. And if there's no resistance, where's the competition? If there's no pushback, where's the competition? Where's the competition? It's all you score, I score, you score, I score, you score, I score. People are getting turned off with that. So this attack on the era of the past and saying players are not skilled and all of that is a joke. Anthony Edwards saying there are no skill. So let me ask you, if there were no skilled players in the past, why did Kobe Bryant reach out to Hakeem Olajuwon to teach him some moves? He's a player from the past. I guess he had no skill, huh? One could make an argument that Hakeem Olajuwon is more skilled than any player playing in the NBA today. Another person can make another argument that Hakeem Olajuwon is more skilled than any player that has played in the NBA in the last 5 years. You could make an argument for that. You could legitimately make an argument for that. You know, Kobe Bryant, the guy that a lot of people view as the most skilled player ever. Kobe got a lot of his game from players before him. How does that work? How was it that Kobe Bryant became the most skilled player ever, arguably, and he got all of his moves from players that came from the past? So what does that say about the past? What does that say about the past? Even if you look at the most skilled players in today's NBA, when we watch them play, we're like, man, he reminds me of Kobe. He reminds me, these are players from the past. You're talking about, well, Kobe, people saw Kobe and said, wow, where did Kobe get his skills from? Where did he get his skills from? Was there an element of creativity within Kobe Bryant? Yes, there was. But at the basis of it, Kobe was a student of the game. And he studied players before him. He did. Anthony Edwards and these guys going out there saying that just makes him look ignorant. And you can't blame it on youth. Do you know why you can't blame it on youth? Because Kobe was young too. Kobe was young too. But you would never hear something as idiotic as this come out of a young Kobe's mouth. But you hear it coming out of Anthony Edwards' mouth. What does that say? All players are not created equal. Clearly. These are my thoughts. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments.